I got into real estate years and years and years ago. My first license was in '97 as a realtor. I used to manage 400 single-family homes in Vegas. Moved to Colorado. They don't do things there the same. So I ended up in manufactured home sales and became a top producer in that field.
Yeah, and you said it right. It is the ADHD brain. We're really, really good problem solvers, and that's one thing that's our. It's like having a superpower.
Right.
Yeah.
That and maybe pattern recognition. Right. That
yes.
Kind of stuff? Yeah.
Exactly.
And so the juxtaposition of those two personalities, I think, really allows for us to work, yin and yang, right? That he's exceptionally strong where I am exceptionally weak. That they got the license and they think they're F4 drivers and they're finance experts, but don't know a darn thing about infinite banking or velocity banking or simple interest versus compounding or all these other things, structuring, retirement. And all this other stuff. We want our menu to look like the Cheesecake Factory menu, right? You cannot go into a Cheesecake Factory and not find something that's going to serve what your desire is, right?
Welcome back to the Hustle and Grind podcast, the show where we dig into why real entrepreneurs trade comfort for conviction. This isn't about vanity metrics or overnight success. It's about the stories behind building a reputation that actually matters. I'm your host, Andrew, keynote architect, platform builder, and fellow founder in the trenches. Today, I'm sitting down with Doug and Geordan Waldman, a father-son duo bringing a unique perspective to financial education and wealth strategy. Doug is a true real estate and lending expert with decades of experience spanning mortgage lending, property investment, and construction. He's a former appraiser, a mortgage broker, and a true problem solver in the real estate world. Geordan brings a rare combination of analytical precision and a deep understanding of long-term financial needs. As a certified liability advisor and with a master's in gerontology, he's an expert in helping people reframe their relationship with debt, not as a burden, but as a powerful financial lever. Together, they are on a mission to empower people with the tools, knowledge, and guidance to achieve their financial goals with intention. So, Doug, Geordan, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm really honored to have you here. You're in a space that I have a lot of passion for because it's something that I have taught in some way, shape, or form for years. So, really happy to get you guys here. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Cool. So, the first thing I want to do is, because you're obviously a father-son team here, I want to hear the backstory. How did you get into the financial space? And Geordan, how did you get into your dad's company? Because both of you have very, very different backgrounds. And I think I want to hear this story.
That's fair. I got into real estate years and years and years ago. My first license was in '97 as a realtor. I used to manage 400 single-family homes in Vegas. Moved to Colorado. They don't do things there the same. So I ended up in manufactured home sales and became a top producer in that field. Got recruited to build subdivisions with some guys doing manufactured homes. We owned a trucking company to deliver them and construction company to set them and development company. We put in, full subdivisions and infrastructure. And after that became an appraiser. And as an appraiser, I kept interfacing with a bunch of lenders and realized that these guys don't know a darn thing about what they should be doing or how this really works. And I said, well, if those guys can do it, I think I can go do it. And literally, I had a friend that was saying he had trouble. He had a bunch of leads and nobody was closing anything, and he wasn't getting any loans done. I said, well, you don't know many people like me. I'll come in after hours appraising. And in like my first week or two, I paid for an all expense paid 2-week cruise for my wife, and the income was ridiculous. And I sold my appraisal business and went into mortgages, and I've been here ever since. I seem to be an idiot savant. I seem to see things that others don't in the space. I tend to get loans done that most people can't. And so I've developed this skill set to only work on hard stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the fun part. That's the fun part about being an entrepreneur is finding those spaces going, you're screwing it up. Okay, let's try this again. Right. I have another realtor friend of mine that did the same thing. Her and her husband moved from the Middle East, moved here, barely spoke English. They're going through their first transaction going, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah. This isn't right. There's just a ton of stuff going wrong here. And her husband turns to her one day and goes, you could do this better. And she's been a realtor for 20 years. Yeah. Something about that, the ability to fill in a blank really helps a lot.
And I think it's like any space where you have to get a license, right? Just because I have a driver's license does not mean I can go drive IndyCar. Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. And I've been in the finance space long enough that I learned the creative things before you weren't supposed to be able to do them. Right. And now they actually still work. So things like keeping people out of mortgage insurance by structuring differently, or utilizing unique products that most people don't even have access to. It's probably my ADHD brain that I just love that weird one-off stuff that I thrive in. And then I'm so proud of this kiddo for coming on board and using his monster brain to really help push us forward. So it's been a pretty big dream come true for Dad.
Awesome. Yeah, and you said it right. It is the ADHD brain. We're really, really good problem solvers, and that's one thing it's like having a superpower.
Right?
Yeah,
and maybe pattern recognition, right? That kind of stuff. Yeah,
exactly. So, Jordan, how did you start helping your dad? Because you guys are. So I also want to go into the dynamic a little because you guys are polar opposites, and it works really well.
Yeah,
like your dad's the visionary, and you're very much the implementer, and I like that.
He's my straight man.
Yeah,
exactly.
He finds the trouble, I keep him out of it.
He gets us out of it.
You make it work.
Yeah. We kind of started working together. When we first moved out to California in 2010, they had launched a fitness company as they came out here. And so I started working with them a little bit, just kind of fresh out of high school, helping them with websites and trying to figure out what to do and monetize my time as I went into college for my applied physics degree. And so I was helping them with the fitness company for many years. And then after my degree, I ended up jumping into becoming a programmer for the Navy contractor locally. And I realized I hated what I was doing. I'd wake up in the dark, go to a windowless room, stare at a computer screen for 10 hours a day, and then immediately leave and the sun had set. And I do that 4 or 5 days a week, and it was slowly causing me to lose my mind. So jumped back into the family business. We ran some analysis on kind of where our key clients were, and we realized that the ones that had really stuck with us and that we were really making a big impact on their life was these seniors, or at least people over the age of 55 that were kind of sticking with us because they were really seeing benefit in what we were doing. And so that caused me to go get my master's in gerontology, which is the study of human aging. And a large part of that background was the physiological changes that people go through, the neurological changes, but also the financial aspect of how people retire correctly and what sets the stage for successful retirement or what ends up leading to disaster. It was a very interesting study, but then in 2020, COVID hit us pretty hard on the fitness front because we were in all these senior living facilities. And they were just like, yeah, we can't risk having people come in and potentially infecting all of our clients. So we jumped back. Well, my father jumped back into the mortgage space, and he's like, yeah, business is going great right now. Why don't you join me? So I went and got licensed, and I've been kind of in the space ever since. So for the last 5 years.
Interesting. Huh. And did you at some point think that the two of you are going to work together, or is this sort of one of those opportunistic moments where it's like, hey, this sounds like a good thing, and the sky's part and the angels sang, and oh yeah, I'm going to do this now?
For me, I've always had family businesses in our family. So my grandfather and my uncle had the biggest dry cleaning supply business in the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. My uncle on the other side of the family had a huge clothing supplier business. And so I grew up around big family businesses. And so that was always a thing for me. My wife and I have always worked together. The same thing applies really to Jordan too, but I always say I'd be the fastest speedboat going in circles if it weren't for my wife, the rudder, keeping me off the rocks. And Jordan's become not my wife, but the guy that, with all my drive, and he's got plenty of drive of his own. It's not fair for me to say that I'm the drive, but I am a high speed catch and kill kind of personality. Like all gas, no brakes is my catchphrase. Yep. Jordan's the guy that's like, maybe we should pump the brakes. I know you're all gas, no brakes. Maybe we should get brakes on before we hit that curve right there. So Jordan, it's always been a dream of mine to have my kids involved in our business because we can make collectively a better living than all being diffused into other people's dreams.
Well, and it sounds you guys play off each other well. I mean, it's the perfect EOS visionary implementer. Yeah. You know, Doug, you've got your lane. You're the great ideas going at 1,000,000 miles an hour, selling anything that's out there. That Jordan's more the okay. Those are really great 1,000 great ideas that you brought. Right. Which 2 are we doing now?
And how do we implement that? Right. Right. Yeah. I get the easy part. I'm like, I got an idea. And he's like, great. Let me put that on the list.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But he's good at it. He wears that role exceptionally well.
Good. Yeah. Good. Now, I know a lot of people think about, especially like dads want their kids to go into the same thing. It's why I have an engineering degree. My dad was an engineer. But if I ever thought about working with my dad, I would end up on the 11 o'clock news. Like, that's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong. It's not going to be fun. Anyway, it's going to end poorly. So how do you guys manage that? Because I think it's a question that people are going to have.
Pharmaceuticals.
There you go.
Pharmaceuticals and boxing.
In boxing? There you go.
See how my nose is flat? He keeps me in check every once in a while.
There you go. But is it more, you guys have certain protocols you use, or is it some other thing that kind of, we don't work in the same office, we do this sort of thing? Is it just, making that side of it? Is it?
I'll throw my 2 cents in. Jordan's going to have his own. I think number one, we have a huge mutual respect for one another.
Okay, good.
And just obviously big family love, which is not a given, right? There's a lot of families that are like, I can tolerate you, but I don't know that you want you in my space. Jordan and I seem to, we are wired differently, but also there's a connectivity there. So we understand each other's drives. And because he's wired differently than me, when my ADD, high drive, big mouth, volatility comes into play, he can be that type B and go, okay, blow off your steam. You do you. Why don't we circle back in 10 minutes? Right. Take a deep breath. Yep. Right. And vice versa. I can be like, Bubba, it's time to kick him into gear. Let's go. Come on. Right? We should have had that in. Let's move this thing along. And so the juxtaposition of those 2 personalities, I think, really allows for us to work, yin and yang, right? That he's exceptionally strong where I am exceptionally weak. And I don't know that he's weak anywhere, but vice versa to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's a large part of that balancing dynamic, and he's got a very loud, boisterous, extroverted energy, which a lot of people love, and that's why he really drives sales. And I've got this quiet, more laid-back demeanor, a little bit more analytical, a little bit more logical, step A, B, C, where he can juggle a lot of different tasks and keep those plates spinning. And so between the 2 of us, we kind of keep everything going in the right direction. Like with any family dynamic, especially when you're moving into businesses together, you have to work on reestablishing dynamics and
boundaries,
reestablishing how the relationship works and where respect is and where deference is, and you kind of work your way through it. But I think a large part of it is definitely the mutual love and respect gets us through a lot of that, and other than a little tension here or there, rarely we get through it.
And I think it's important because I've seen it work, or I've seen it not work in companies where that visionary implementer there's not that mutual respect, or the visionary is going off in another direction, or, and it can get, especially if families involved, it could potentially get very toxic. And I see you guys work like an oiled machine between the 2 of you. And I just wanted to see what the basis was behind that. And hopefully it'll help some people out there, especially if they're in that situation where they want to go work with family. And okay, how do I do it? And I think you said, Doug, the perfect word, boundaries. Yeah. This is our place. This is my role. This is what we do. This is what I'm good at. This is what you're good at. And we're going to mix them together.
And I think Jordan and I both agree that I'm a wonderful human being.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You guys have great haircuts too.
Yeah.
For those listening, we're all bald with beards, so it works out well.
The same barber, so
yeah, exactly.
Acts as a therapist.
So one size fits all. Yeah.
Exactly right. I love it. So I want you guys to go into a little bit about what you're doing now, especially with the Oceana Group. Like, what are you up to now? What is your thing?
Jordan, you want to go?
What isn't our thing these days?
Yeah.
I mean, we are adding services left and right. I mean, we really predominantly started in the mortgage space and then ended up taking on this certified liability advisor role when we realized that, realtors are struggling right now. They're writing maybe one deal a year on average, less than that. And so, I mean, that makes it a very hard market for lenders. Yeah, what was the statistic? 80% of lenders have gotten out of the space in the last 3 years or so?
Yeah, 70 to 80% of loan officers have gotten out of the business just because it's been, we went from 3% refi boom to 7 and 8s and everyone pumping the brakes. And when you end up in a 6-digit lifestyle or multiple 6-digit lifestyle, and all of a sudden that comes to a screeching halt because nobody's borrowing because they've either already refied or I'm not doing 7%, even though that's the average over the last 50 years, because we got so spoiled during COVID that, it pushed out a lot of people. So the real estate or the mortgage stuff brought us into being CLAs, Certified Liability Advisors. Then we were taught that really, if you really want to go big in mortgages, you work with insurance agents and financial planners because they have fiduciary responsibilities and fiduciary relationships. They build real relationships with their clients. It's not just, hey, Andrew, let me get you in a house and I'm going to start, and you're just going to be on my Christmas card list when damn well I didn't put any thought into it. It was an auto machine that's just sending you Christmas cards, right? Where with an insurance or financial planner, I really need to know what's going on because I have to plan, right? And so that's what brought us into dealing with insurance agents and financial planners. And then we just realized that a lot of these insurance agents don't know what they're doing either. That they got the license and they think they're F4 drivers and they're finance experts, but don't know a darn thing about infinite banking or velocity banking or, simple interest versus compounding or all these other things, structuring, retirement and all this other stuff. And so we said, well, we should probably go into that space then. And we did, and then that's brought us even more opportunities, which Jordan will tell you about. But we just keep finding more. We want to be we want our menu to look like the Cheesecake Factory menu, right? You cannot go into a Cheesecake Factory and not find something that's going to serve what your desire is, right?
I'm gonna take. I have a 12-year-old in my life, and I'm gonna take you up on that.
Yeah,
she's a super picky eater.
Right. I just want chicken fingers plain, Dad. Nothing on them.
Oh God, chicken fingers! So many chicken fingers.
How'd I know? I've got 3 sons. I get it.
You get it.
But we started jumping into the insurance space and started building a team underneath us on that front and financial advisors that are multi-licensed. And we're like, well, we can help people kind of within this niche, but there are some people that are just not even at that stage yet. Some people that are just drowning. Their month-to-month expenses are going to debt maintenance and credit cards and medical bills and all of these ways that are just kind of basically eating their lunch. And we had to take on a service that can help meet people where they're at, regardless of their life stage, regardless of where they're at. Help them free up cash flow. Great. Now that you've got that money, let's help you start setting the stage for retirement. Build that safety net that you haven't had. Most people, there used to be like a 3-legged stool of retirement, right? You used to have pension, used to have actual means for savings, and then Social Security. Pension's gone the way of the dodo. Most people are not making enough money these days to even begin dreaming of savings, and everything's gone to subscription models and where you're not really owning anything, you're just feeding businesses. And then Social Security is up in the air. Well, now what do you do? So we want to help people set the stage for success, and that's a long-term play. We want to be in their lives every step of the way, regardless of what they're doing, and make sure it fits into their overall financial picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about that today. I'm within 20 years of being able to collect Social Security. I'm at that point where I'm just not expecting it. I'm assuming it's going to be my side of fries if it comes, and it'll be really nice, but it's not going to be even close because who knows what's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you said you're a certified liability advisor, and I will guarantee that most people have no idea what the hell that is. Right. So can you explain to me what a CLA does? Like, well, how is that different than a financial planner? How is that different than like
we're dealing with the opposite side of the balance sheet, right? Those guys are all looking at the forward look, generally, speaking generalizations here, but they're looking at the forward-looking asset accumulation, wealth accumulation side of things, right? What we do is we look at the opposite. We're looking at the debt structure of a client. So for you example, you might have a couple of credit cards, car loans, some student loans, either for yourself or your kids. Typically the biggest but lowest interest rate is the mortgage, right? And even that, there's way better ways to do finance structure than the 30-year amortizing loan, which is ubiquitous in the United States. And so our job is to look at their short-term and long-term debt and make sure it's in alignment with their short and long-term financial goals. And often it's not. People do silly stuff that they don't just think about. Like when you deposit money into your checking account, you become the creditor to your bank. You are now lending your bank money for free in most cases. Awesome, right? But for the opportunity to pull out your money at an ATM, we're going to charge you fees. So we're going to take your money, not pay you anything in return, charge you a cost. So now you're losing money. You're not keeping up with inflation. But we're going to take that money and lend it to you if you'd like at 6 to 30%. What a deal, right? So we're helping people understand that and look at better alternatives than giving your money to the bank for free and then getting hammered on all the debt. Silly things. You've got 60, 70 grand in your savings or checking account, earning zero. You've got a $10,000 credit card over here maxed out at 25%. Take 10 grand, pay off that credit card. Your money's not performing at 25%. A lot better than losing money, right? And still having the interest expense over there.
Yeah. Or how most people maybe get a inheritance from family. Usually it's around $60,000, $70,000. First place they park that money is in their mortgage. They've made their bank more secure and have done nothing to help themselves really long term. They'd have to get a new loan in order to get that money back. Versus if they invested it, let it grow over 21 years, they could use it to pay off their mortgage. Like those kinds of missteps that really hurt you long term. We try helping people make sure they avoid those pitfalls.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting. So just taking the let's say somebody gets $60,000. So if I make 10% on it, that's $6,000 a year, $500 a month. Could you put $500 a month towards your mortgage payment in perpetuity? I mean, constantly doing it, And I think a lot of people don't think that way.
Right.
Yeah, that is
and have your
certainly an option.
Right.
Yeah, or you can find strategies with HELOCs to use the HELOC to accelerate the pay down. So that way your money's kind of sitting there still growing. Then you slowly pay off the HELOC. And using that strategy, you can accelerate your payoff of your mortgage by like 14 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's called velocity banking for anyone that's looking for it, is what the process that we're talking about is. And so, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring up kind of what you do is a lot of people don't think about this side of the equation, right? They don't think about having to pay off mortgages and how to do that properly or all of these other things. Most people don't understand that if you're not making 3%, you're not keeping up with the 100-year average of inflation.
Right.
So if you're putting money into a bank at 0% or even 2%, you're losing 1% per year.
Right.
You're losing access to that money, and there's much better ways out there.
Yep.
Yeah. So, out of all of the retired, what do you say the number one thing that your clients have done wrong? Like, what's the one thing that if you were only to make one change, most common one, what would you say people should look at? Like that are out there, and somebody's sitting out there going, "Well, I don't have any problems." One thing that they could sell them, well, look at this. This might be an issue.
I think for a lot is because just in the last generation or so, we've lost pensions.
Yeah.
So I have friends that have, they work for Teamsters or, work at the studios, and they're the few people I know left that have pensions, right? Most people don't. And so the thought process was, I can just live my life and eventually the company takes care of me for the rest of it. And I can coast, right? And that's gone. And so if you don't get really serious about coming up with strategies to either accumulate wealth that you can then convert and monetize to cover your latter years, or come up with some sort of dynamic which, like owning a business that you could leave to your kids that takes care of your expenses in perpetuity until you're no more of this planet, you got a problem.
Yeah.
Because and too many people are retiring into poverty because they're just not thinking about it and getting ahead of it.
Yeah, and the world has changed a lot.
A ton.
I mean,
My
grandfather had that happen. He worked for Westinghouse for a long time, like 30 some odd years, and they converted his pension over to a 401k. and totally changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
He had to now invest very differently. He was a very savvy investor, but that was, I can remember him complaining about that too. He was not happy because he understood things about 401ks that we don't know, or more it benefits your employer. It doesn't really benefit you very much.
Right.
I have not had a single person be able to, when I've asked them how much is your 401k making, excluding fees, not a single person has been able to answer it. So, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I'd argue a lot of people just, they don't start soon enough. They start thinking about it too late, and you can't get back that time.
Yeah.
Like you're dealing with the concept of the last double, which the longer you're investing, you get an extra double of the investment that you put in. So for those that maybe aren't familiar, there's the rule of 72, where if your interest rate is at 10%, it takes you take the 72 divided by 10, your investment doubles every 7 years. So if you wait 7 years to start, you've cut your retirement in half from what it could have been. And so if people don't start soon enough, you can't really claw your way back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think you alluded to something earlier as well that a lot of people don't recognize, and that is if you make one extra payment a year on a mortgage, you take a 30-year down to a 20, I think it is. It significantly reduces the amount.
It helps. And there's even better methods than that. We specialize in a loan called the Home Select, which has been around for 20 years, that absolutely even destroys that, because that method is great. But call up your lender and be like, "Hey, this is Andrew. I've been paying that extra payment. I've been making one payment every 2 weeks, a half a payment every 2 weeks. You're paying. I'm making 13 payments a year, right? Whatever your mechanism is. I just lost my job, but I've been paying really good for 7 years or 8 years, right? What are they going to say? That's unfortunate. Make your payment. You don't have any access to that equity that you put in. We have a product that's a first position line of credit. It's a HELOC in the first position that actually functions as your checking account. So as you pay down, just like you were doing, the average client pays off in 7 to 12 years. Average. Never been a default in this loan. And your equity piece becomes your cash availability. So like a credit card, if you owe 20 grand on a credit card, you pay down 10, you now typically have $10,000 line of credit available. This mortgage works like that without having to refinance. It's a game changer.
That's really interesting.
It's a game changer.
That's really cool.
You're liquid. It's a 30-year mortgage, and it becomes more effective borrowing in the future because you're getting these low effective APRs in comparison to your 20s and 30s on credit cards. You can borrow from your equity again and do home repairs, pay off your car, whatever you want to use it for. But for the money savvy, this is a phenomenal tool. You're turning your house into your own bank and combine it with a few other methods.
And we're currently seeing rates on this, like effective. Now, this is a line of credit, so it really doesn't have an APR, but we use a algorithm to convert it, and we see comparison loan effective APRs. I won't say a number because your trolls will beat me up, but let's just say they rival COVID interest rates.
Yeah,
crazy. It's just a better structure.
Yeah, and it gets the money out of your walls, because we're all sitting in equity and we're sitting on money on our walls, and it's yes, there's some appreciation going on,
but it's not doing anything. Your money is you're actually losing steam because it could be working, making compounding interest doing something else.
Yeah, everyone's like, my house is my greatest asset. I'm like, the hell it is. No, it's the biggest liability because is it making you money? That's what an asset does. It makes you money.
Right. Well, that's like, that's Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
It exactly is.
Talks about that it's a non-performing asset because you're paying for it. Yeah. Right. If your tenant's paying for it, it's performing. Yeah. Right. But when you're taking the money out of your pocket every month, it's non-performing. And then that money is dead. It's just sitting there dead. It's not bringing you any benefit other than the fact that there's a safety net. But even access the safety net, you have to be able to qualify for a loan or be able to get a reverse mortgage. So if you're not out of age and something catastrophic or something bad happens, like getting laid off, it's already too late. The cows are out of the barn. You're done. You don't qualify anymore. So everybody, all of your listeners should have a HELOC against their equity, always, even if they don't need the money. Take the nominal amount, whatever amount they tell you have to take out, take it out, leave it out for 6 months, put it back in, put it into a high yield checking to offset the cost. But you cannot borrow money if you don't qualify in this country on equity, because most equity loans, home loans, are based on income. And so when stuff goes sideways, it's already too late.
Yeah. And people don't recognize this is a line of credit. It's not a loan. You only take what you need and you only pay interest on what you've used, and that's it. So it's not like you're paying interest on the whole thing. You have the option to use up to that. It's like a big credit card with a significantly lower interest rate. It is probably the easiest way.
To explain it. It's crazy because we have clients that are entrepreneurs. Let's say they have $1 million house or $1 million loan for $1 million house, right? I can go to 800,000, 80%, right? But maybe they only owe 300. If they qualify for the $800,000 loan, we can refinance their mortgage into the Home Select. They only have a $300,000 balance, but they have a $500,000 available line of credit. That's a huge safety net for no cost. Zero cost. We don't charge points on it. We only charge points on what you borrow. So to your point. So that is a monstrous advantage to knowing about ways to structure your finances appropriately and having somebody educated in doing just that for you.
Yeah. And think about the ways you can use it too. I mean, purchasing cars. Why go to a dealership? I'll buy it through my bank, you know?
We tell people that a lot. Go to Costco, find out what they tell you to go buy the car for. Walk into the showroom, say, I want to test drive that. I like it. Great. Tell your F&I guy, here's my number. I'll write a check against my Home Select. I don't want to hear about undercarriage coatings or anything like that. Wrap this thing up. I'll come in and sign. I want to be out the door in 5 minutes. Right? Versus that painful 2 hours of, let me go talk to my manager and see if this offer is good enough. You know, that painful mess that we've all gone through.
Yeah, exactly. And it's easier the terms are easier too, because you can unless you have some sort of a mental issue that will stop you from doing it, you generally can renegotiate with yourself pretty easily. With your bank, it's going to be a lot harder.
Absolutely. You become your own bank. Yeah. Kids, you know, and the biggest thing that people finance houses for are to buy the house. Then typically 20 years later, when they've had kids and the kids go to college, they're now tapping into the equity to pay for college, and then their retirement. This loan also, if they get financed in this before they've retired, this loan actually allows them to retire in place without needing a reverse mortgage. Because if they need the funds, they have the line there, they can tap it. If not, it's costing them nothing. Whereas a reverse is a pretty expensive proposition.
Yeah, excellent. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate it. For those that want to learn more, there's going to be information in the show notes so you can get a hold of these two folks. I always love talking about this stuff. We can go on for another 20 minutes. I think so many people don't understand how this works. And it's such a different world than our parents were used to. I know that the way that my mom has her retirement set up is very different than the way that I'm going to set it up. And understanding it is difficult. Trying to find good information out there is difficult. So really appreciate you guys being on here. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks for your time, Andrew.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hustle and Grind podcast, where we unpack what it really takes to build something that matters. If today's conversation hit home, do me a favor. Share it with someone who's in the trenches too. And if you're building your own brand, platform, or message and want help turning that story into serious authority, head over to theauthorityforge.com to see how we can help. Until next time, keep showing up, keep shipping, and keep chasing the work that sets you on fire. I'm Andrew, and this was the Hustle and Grind podcast.